Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 211 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined this week as always by the elusive Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. Yourself?
Not so great this week, to be honest. Battling a bit of a viral infection, so I've got the tissues next to me. It's been a few days now, actually. I feel like it's slowly getting better, ever so slowly. Hopefully my voice doesn't annoy everyone if it's a bit stuffy. If you can detect that, I'm not quite sure. Hopefully, it's good enough to listen to. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the review part of the show. Forget about me. Let's start here at the Allianz Cloud in Milan, Italy. Obviously, this one was a defense of Francesco Patera's EBU European lightweight title. 22-3 his record going in. He took on the real good amateur. I think he went to the Olympics. It might have even been on 3 occasions. You know, he turned pro real late. Domenico Valentino, good amateur. I think I said on last week's show he beat Josh Taylor in the amateurs. Perfect record, as I say, 8-0. He challenged Patera, but actually Valentino was down in the 12th and final round, and he lost a real lopsided unanimous decision over 12 rounds. So brilliant win there for Patera, who seems like he's almost a little bit rejuvenated, you know, since he stepped up to European level. He's really found another gear. So I'm slowly kind of getting on that gravy train now. I like Patera quite a bit. Moving out now to Thailand. This one, of course, last Friday at the City Hall ground in Chonburi. Teofimo now 54-0, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds against Simpiwi Konko. Of course, the defense there of Moonsri's WBC world minimum weight title. Also, his opponent Konko was down in the 7th round, but he got back up. Unanimous decision, like I say, over 12. Konko now 19-6, and Moonsri just defying the odds really there. 54-0. The real Mayweather lives in Thailand. Moving out now though to Kazakhstan. One fight to mention over here at the Balawan Shalek Sports Palace in Almaty. Kana Islam, a fighter who, you know, has remained undefeated. He's kind of been reluctant for some reason to step up. I don't know if it's you know, situations promotionally that's holding him back, but very good fighter by all accounts. 26-0. He took on Walter Kauton Dokwa, former opponent of Demetrius Andrade. Kauton Dokwa lost a points decision over 10 rounds, but I've heard that apparently he may have even been robbed, or the scorecards were really wide. I didn't catch any footage of it, but I'd like to try and find out a bit more. So if anyone's listening and they know what happened in that fight, let us know, because that received some bad publicity afterwards. Kauton Dokwa, not a bad fighter in all honesty, even though he got smashed by Andrade. So Kana Islam now 27-0 on paper. Obviously a defence there of his WBO international middleweight title. Moving out now to Poland. One fight to mention that took place last Saturday at the Hala Sportowa Zaromskiego 9. Boy, oh boy. Friend of the show, actually, Artur Spilka. He returned back after being knocked out brutally by Derek Chisora. He's now 23-4. He got a knockout of his own in the very first round against Fabio Tuach, who's now 29-7. Also on that bill, Tony Avalant got TKO'd, former opponent of Anthony Yard, obviously. He got TKO'd by Marek Machija But yeah, anyway, leaving Poland there, moving out now to the big one. The big one, of course, the O2 Arena, Greenwich, London, United Kingdom. I'm going to be coming to you, Ayaz. Let's start, though, with the undercard. A win for Shannon Courtenay now, 4-0. I thought it was Courtenay, but then I'm hearing it's just Shannon Courtenay, so a bit confused. But anyway, now 4-0, a points win over 4 against Jasmina Nad, who had a losing record 11-22, now 11-23 with 5 draws. Abbas Barral, he got a TKO win against John O'Donnell, so Abbas Barral now 8-0. It was a defence of his WBC International Super Welterweight title. Conor Ben Ayaz moved to 16-0, a defence of his WBA Continental Welterweight title against late replacement Steve Jamoy. Steve Jamoy got TKO'd in 4 rounds. You know, he didn't have loads and loads of notice, but on paper, it was a big step up. Even though he didn't have the notice, I thought he might ask a couple questions of Conor Ben, but to be honest, he didn't really. I mean, he landed a couple of decent shots, to be honest, Jamoy, but they were few and far between, and Conor Ben just had too much firepower for him. Jamoy now 26-8 with 2 draws, but I feel like Ben just had, you know, he just had something in his game there on Saturday night that we perhaps hadn't seen before. He showed a few little dynamics to his game, a bit different his style. You know, he was boxing nicely, boxing smoothly, which a lot of people wouldn't really say that about Ben in previous fights. Not really a smooth boxer. He did have a point deducted for a low blow in the 4th round, and of course Jamoy was down prior to the stoppage in the 4th. Also on the bill, Yves Ngarbu, the European EBU champion. He put his belt on the line against our very own Lawrence Okoli. Lawrence Okoli managed to get the 7th round TKO in a fight that lacked a bit of excitement, really. Once again, Lawrence Okoli, managed to get the win. Of course, that's all that matters. But it's just a shame, really, because you know, he's known as Lawrence TKO, and he does get the knockout. You know, he's a big guy, massive cruiserweight, can really bang. But all the tying up, I mean, it's not going to go down well, and it hasn't been received well. But for the most part, he's a tough guy. He's a good fighter, and it kind of works. You know, I'm kind of starting to think it's a little bit strategic now from Lawrence Okoli rather than just a bad habit. Now 14-0 and the new European Cruiserweight champion, so there's only really one more level from European, and that of course is to go on to world level. That's where I want to see Lawrence Okoli in the near future. I don't want to see too many marking time fights, really. Also on the bill, Ricky Burns against Lee Selby. It ended up being a majority decision after 12 rounds in favour of the Welshman Lee Selby, friend of the show. I was pleased for him. You know, Ricky Burns put up a good fight. We knew. He's a tough guy going into that fight. It was a last chance saloon kind of fight for both guys. I mean, I didn't watch all of the IFL interview with Ricky Burns where he got quite emotional. I think he started crying in the interview. I didn't watch it all. I saw a little clip, and it's hard to read, you know, if he wants to continue or not after that. But again, I feel like he should really hang him up. You know, easily Scotland's best fighter of all times in terms of boxing. And yeah, I don't think he should go on too much longer. I think that's probably where he should end it. You know, he boxed Lee Selby. Lee Selby hasn't really looked his former self since moving up to lightweight. Didn't look great against Douglas. Fair enough, he got cut. And to be honest, he didn't look that great in this fight here. It was a bit too close for my liking. And I don't think you're going to get, you know, a better opportunity to beat a fighter that is well known / kind of world level than Lee Selby, and I'm being really fair there. I don't think he's going to beat a guy that's above Lee Selby now in terms of rankings or in terms of name. So what's the point fighting guys at a lower level that you may even lose to? You know, I think that's it for Ricky Burns. Don't tarnish your exceptional resume. You've been a real good servant to the sport of boxing, my friend. Moving up the bill once again, Derek Chisora got the KO in the 4th round against David Price. As we called it, so did the listeners. A bit of a formality, to be honest. David Price didn't have all the notice. It was for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight title. Price down in the 4th round. Yeah, what we expected, to be honest, Ayaz, if we're being brutally honest.
I mean, everyone knew that David Price was going to get knocked down, obviously. I think it's time for him to hang up the gloves. I mean, well done to Derek Chisora, and this onwards and upwards for him now.
They're talking about the Usyk fight. You know, we all think that Usyk has got the potential to be a to be a world champion at heavyweight after what he did at cruiserweight. And I always really do respect what Adam Booth says. So when he says something, I pay attention, and I kind of think, it sticks with me. I barely ever disagree with Adam Booth. I think he gets a lot of things spot on, to be honest. But he said something, I think he said that Chisora would ask questions of Usyk. I like the word in there because it doesn't mean he'd beat him. It doesn't mean he'd come close to beating him. But he would put that pressure on Usyk, the pressure that we haven't seen before. He'd put his weight on Usyk. He'd try and lean on him. He'd try and push him back. He's got that, that rock-solid chin. I couldn't really see Usyk stopping Chisora. So I think he's nailed that as well, Adam Booth. I think Chisora does ask questions of him. I think Usyk wins it hands down. But I feel like it could be quite interesting, perhaps. Perhaps not though, perhaps not, because he's a mover, Usyk, and Chisora doesn't really bode well with a mover. We've seen that before. But yeah, I mean, the fight against Price, from the very first bell, Chisora was straight out the blocks, putting the pressure on. Price landed one or two nice shots, but he was easily outworked in the first. Chisora clearly won the round. Again, round two, another Chisora round. It was a bit scrappy. We all kind of favoured Chisora so massively going in. And I was starting to think, though, something kind of hit me. Who is Chisora's best win? You'd probably say Takam. He was losing every single second of the fight until Takam walked on to a big overhand right. I mean, on paper, yeah, that's his best name. But an actual win where he dominated and got the knockout, it's probably Malik Scott, in all fairness. It probably is Malik Scott. And, I just felt, even though we were favouring Chisora so massively, is he really light years above of Price? All of Price's big fights he's lost, and all of Chisora's big fights he's lost. So I was starting to think maybe it's a bit closer than what some people thought. But anyways, Price has obviously got that pedigree, which seems to have just vanished. But he's got way more pedigree and experience than Chisora. The third round, again, Chisora started loading up with the hooks. He started getting through with the left hook especially. And at the very dying seconds, that was where Chisora started pummeling Price. And, he had Price looking out on his feet, to be honest. And he ended up actually taking a big right uppercut on the chin. And Chisora's legs dipped himself. And even after landing the shot, Price, because it was just like Price was getting attacked and he just thought, I'm just going to throw this big supersonic right uppercut, and it landed flush. But obviously Chisora's got a great beard, and even after he landed it, Price's legs went a bit wobbly from throwing the shot. He was really out on his feet. He got saved by the bell, in my opinion. And then, like I say, when he came out in the fourth round, he was down. He got caught with a big shot high on the temple, and he lost his balance, and he was all over the place before going down about 2 seconds later. So it was a little bit of a delayed kind of reaction, perhaps. He did beat the count, but when he got back up, he was unsteady on his legs. And, I'm with the corner for doing the right thing and throwing the towel in immediately. So, yeah, no real shock in terms of the actual overall result. Moving up the card once again, the main event, actually, Ayaz, I'm going to come to you on this. Josh Taylor, 15-0, going in against the undefeated Regis Prograis, 24-0. Both men friends of the show. It, of course, was for the WBA, IBF, and the Ring World Super Lightweight titles. We all thought it was going to be a brilliant fight going into it, and it really did play up to the expectations.
What can I say? Wow, what a fight it was from the start to the end. From the first fight, for the first 6 rounds, it was Regis Prograis winning the rounds. I had, obviously, Regis Prograis, like, he's bobbing and weaving, he's jabbing, obviously, and then towards, after the 6th round, it was all Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor, obviously, like, he hit him with a right hand. For me, this was a proper boxing match. Obviously, sometimes you just get a slugfest. But this was a proper boxing match. Obviously, 2 fighters, 2 both world champions. And obviously, Josh Taylor, obviously, I think he's, at the moment, British boxing star at the moment, number 1 for pound for British, number 1 at the moment, current. Obviously, with Josh Taylor, he was used working the jab, using the body, he was pivoting right, left, back, forth. He hurt Regis Prograis at times, right? He hit Regis Prograis a couple of times with the right hand as well. And Regis Prograis still didn't go to town. And from this round 6 to round 12, I had Josh Taylor winning it. But what a great fight for Josh. I mean, it's a brilliant win for him. And obviously, you can tell at the end of the fight, like, he had his left eye was closed. Regis Prograis' left eye was all swollen up. But I mean, it's a brilliant win for Josh Taylor, and well done for him. And I think he's going to go up. There was a room, I read someone on Twitter, like Javonte Davis calling him up at 140. That's a fight I would love to see.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a funny fight, but I doubt it happens. I think Josh Taylor should try and unify, all of the belts for the undisputed fight with Jose Ramirez. Then, of course, if he were to win that, then there's nowhere else to go but to move up to welterweight. And I feel like he'd give a few fighters up there some hell as well. He's big for 140. But the fight itself, I will just give my breakdown of it. Firstly, scorecards were all over the place. So even though I feel like I'm definitely closer to Regis than I am Josh Taylor. So a bit of me thought I might perhaps start favouring Regis on the scorecards. So again, my scorecard was so different to what Sky had. They had Regis Prograis in front for quite a while, the early rounds especially, and I completely didn't agree with it. So here's how I saw it anyway. The first round, both men came out. It was a little bit cagey, as I thought it'd be. Both men were having a look. For the first minute, nothing really landed. No one really threw anything with any kind of mean behind it. I felt like both men had tiny moments. It was a close round because not much happened, but I felt Prograis just outworked Taylor real narrowly. Second round, such a high quality round. Taylor was starting to open up. Not too much was landing clean, but you felt that Taylor's efforts might just catch the eyes of the judges. Prograis did get through with a nice couple of uppercuts too, but again, Josh Taylor for me nicked the round. 1-1 going into the third round, a real close round. I felt like Taylor started well. Prograis, I felt, started to take over, but then Taylor landed a nice couple of shots right before the bell that might have just snatched in the round. There was a big argument for me for a 10-10 round, but without doing that, trying to avoid it, I had it 2-1 to Taylor. So that was a Taylor round for me. Fourth round, certainly a Prograis round, quite clear to be honest. He started to really get in his groove. He was throwing his jabs. They were lovely. He was using terrific head movement. He landed some lovely body shots and head shots. So I had it 2-2 after 4. The fifth round was a Taylor round for me. He outworked Prograis. He didn't land everything, but he definitely poured more into the round, I felt, in terms of aggression. So I gave that one to Taylor. The sixth round, again, I felt like I was being a bit controversial because I gave that round to Taylor, and not many people did. I felt like it was a big round for Taylor. So I had it 4-2 after 6 rounds. The seventh round, again, I gave it to Taylor. The previous round and this seventh round was where I felt Taylor really started to put Prograis on the back foot for the first time in the fight. So I had it 5-2 Taylor after seven rounds. In the eighth round, again, I thought that the commentary was quite shocking. They were complimenting Taylor in this round, and he wasn't really doing anything. He didn't land a shot for the first 70 seconds of the round. And for me, it was a clear Prograis round. I felt like maybe I was crazy. Prograis also did land a thunderbolt that Taylor walked right into. So definitely a Regis Prograis round, but another one that I disagreed with the commentary on. I think they gave that one to Taylor. So again, 5-3 after 8 for Taylor. The ninth round, I gave it to Taylor, so 6-3 to me, to Taylor. The 10th round, I felt like Prograis was visibly fatigued. Taylor started showing a tremendous chin, as was Prograis, to be honest. But ever since Prograis was pushed back and put on that back foot earlier in the rounds, he really did lose an edge in his game. It seemed like that was the way to kind of keep him off his game. He was second best when he was on the back foot. As was Taylor, to be honest, because when Regis was coming forward, it kind of worked both ways. Whichever man was coming forward, I felt was probably winning the rounds, really. And it's not always like that. It's not always like that. Some people might be watching it for the first time and they might think the guy who's coming forward, the aggressor's always winning the round. It's not always like that. Again, I gave it to Taylor, though, so 7-3 I had it going into the final 2 rounds. So Prograis way behind on my card. The 11th round, again, Prograis, he seemed to get a second wind. Carl Froch said it was one of the best rounds of the year. I wasn't too sure about that. I did give the round to Regis Prograis. I do just want to say, though, that I got 2 hours sleep the night before the fight. So maybe my scoring was a bit off, I felt, perhaps at this stage, before I'd seen the final scorecards from everyone else. Finally, the commentary team acknowledged the terrible eye damage of Taylor's right eye. They were talking about Prograis' eye for many rounds, saying it was really bad, whereas Taylor's eye was 10 times worse. It was closed, as you said, Ayaz. And the 12th and final round, it was an unbelievable round. I mean, Prograis won it clearly for me. It was an incredible round. Two warriors, in my opinion, the true two best in the division. Ramirez, I think, is number 3. I don't think he's anywhere near number 1 and 2, though. I don't think he would have even managed to go 12 rounds with either man. But in the end, I did have it 7-5 to Taylor, so 115, 113. Prograis winning the 11th and 12th. Both of those rounds, I felt like he was the man coming forward once again. I felt like, as I said a minute ago, the man that was coming forward seemed to win. If Prograis was coming forward, he wasn't giving up a round, whereas if he was going backwards, he was perhaps giving away rounds. One judge, I think it was the Italian judge, gave it to Taylor by 5. I can't understand that. I really liked the honesty as well from Shane McGuigan in the post-fight interview when he said, it was a real close fight. We had Taylor up by 1 going into the last round. He didn't say what his final scorecard is. He would have said, I'm sure, if Taylor won that last round, then he would have said, we won it by 2, just like I had it. But he went out of his way to say that Taylor was winning. We had him 1 up going into the last round. So in my eyes anyway, Prograis won the last round. A lot of people agree with me on that. So I think Shane McGuigan accidentally gave away the fact that he thought it was a draw. So I appreciate his honesty, even if he didn't think it was a draw, even if he had Taylor getting the 12th round as well, then it's just by 2. It's not, it's quite fair. That's how I saw it. He wasn't being biased. And I respect McGuigan because he does that a lot. He's very honest, very, very true to his word. The final couple of bills to mention. This one took place at the Reno Sparks Convention Center in Nevada, USA. Firstly, Joshua Greer Jr., he managed to scrape out a very, very close unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Antonio Nieves, now 19-3 with 2 draws. Joshua Greer Jr. now 22-1 with 1 draw. It was for the WBC Continental Americas Bantamweight title and the WBO NABO Bantamweight title. Very close fight, actually. Very close fight. I feel like he probably just did enough, but a bit too close for my liking, really, with Nieves, especially if Greer wants to go on to become a world champion. He's a friend of the show, I'm being honest with the guy in my assessment there. Michaela Meyer, she also picked up a win, 12-0 now, a retirement win. Her opponent, Alejandra Zamora, retired after 6 rounds in the corner. Her record now 7-4, very much overmatched. It was for the NABF female super featherweight title. And the main event, Shakur Stevenson, friend of the show, he's now the new WBO world featherweight champion, 13-0, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds against Joet Gonzalez, who's now 23-1. Joet Gonzalez wasn't a bad fighter. He's not a bad fighter, but he just wasn't on Shakur's level. And to be honest, I don't think he was world level. I don't really understand how. I mean, Shakur's been blowing people away. He deserves to be right up there, in my opinion. But to think they were number 1 and number 2, I believe, I feel like the WBO haven't got the right guys ranked number 1 and 2. I don't think that there's, they were the two best fighters without belts in that division. Shakur definitely. But Joet Gonzalez, I've got no idea how he got such a high ranking. I'm going to be honest. I fell asleep during this fight. I think no one told me the clocks went back, so I had no idea why I was so tired during the fight. I think I fell asleep about round 3, something like that, so I didn't bother watching the rest of it. I heard it was very much like the first couple rounds that I saw. Shakur looked sharp. He won the rounds nicely. I could see that the pair they obviously didn't respect each other outside of the ring, but it was evident straight away that they did have respect for each other inside the ring. Shakur started to lay down his marker, I felt, in the second round. He wasn't getting involved too much. He was happy to just pick Gonzalez off from distance. It was good work. It was smart work. And like I say, I think it was pretty much the same thing every round from that point. A clear winner, Stevenson. Just seemed to be one step ahead of Gonzalez at all times in the fight from what I saw. So the final scorecard's 11 rounds to 1 in favour of Stevenson, friend of the show. Very, very pleased for him. And the final bill to mention there's 2. The final 2 bills to mention. This one at the Santander Arena in Pennsylvania. Robert Easter Jr. picked up a win now, 22-1 with one draw. A friend of the show, he got a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Adrian Granados. A tough guy, Granados. Now 20-8 with 2 draws. But to be fair, Robert Easter Jr., he moved up to 140 as well for this fight, I believe. And he won quite clear. He got a complete shutout on one card, and the other couple cards had it 7-3 and 8-2. So not everyone wins it that clear against Granados. So that's quite impressive for me if the scorecards did really match the fight. Erickson Lubin 22-1 now, a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Nathaniel Gallimore. I expected Lubin to win wide or get the stoppage. He did win wide, 9-1. The scorecards all unanimous there. And the final bill that took place at the Avalon in Hollywood, California, USA, Sergei Boachuk. I think that's how it's said. Very good amateur he was. He's now promoted by Triple G, and he boxed on a Triple G Promotions card. It was for the vacant WBC Continental America's Super Welterweight title. Boachuk, definitely one to watch. He's now 16-0 with 16 KOs. He knocked out in 4 rounds the real big punch in Tyrone Brunson, who's now 28-8 with 2 draws. Brunson was down once in the 3rd round and 2 times, I think, in the 4th round, but he looks really good, Boachuk. Like I say, real good amateur. I can't remember who he beat in the amateurs. A few big names, though. And, he's with Triple G, so I think he may be going right to the top in that 154 division. Big fights for him down the line, 100% KO knockout ratio. But that's everything for the review part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 1, the final thing to do is, of course, to mention or to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated IBF #1 rated lightweight in the world. It is, of course, Mr. Teofimo Lopez. Teo, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's good to be back.
It's great to have you back, Teo. So we last spoke back in February. It was just after the Magdaleno win. Obviously, since then, you've had the 2 wins over Edith Tatley and, of course, Masayoshi Nakatani. However, just because you didn't stop Nakatani, some people decided to just start criticising you. This resulted in you, of course, tweeting, you tweeted something like, "And just like that, you ain't nothing anymore." Did it bother you, Teo, in any way to see people criticising you really for the first time, just for purely not getting a knockout against an undefeated fighter?
You can't please everybody, and I know that. That's not really it. It was just things that I was going through in camp, but we're past it now. Now it's just looking forward to December 14th, man. And, people are going to talk. We can't satisfy everybody, but I was happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, not quite sure why people criticise. I mean, you basically shut the guy out. He was undefeated. Just because he's not a big name doesn't mean, he wasn't a good fighter. But as we know, boxing fans sometimes have got short memories. But anyway, after that, you decided to come over. You decided to come over and visit London, Teo. What did you make of my city? How long were you here for? London's beautiful, man. I wish I had stayed longer. I was just there for the day. I believe it was the day of the weigh-ins for Luke Campbell and Lomachenko. I decided to take the trip with my wife. She was actually working that flight, so I decided to go with her. And we explored London. We went to go see the Queen's castle and everything, the Queen's house. It was beautiful, and I just enjoyed it. And I definitely was thinking about, I need to go and fight. If I could, man, I would have tried to get in that card and, had a fight of my own there. It was beautiful, though. Excellent, man, excellent. So on to the next one. You'll be boxing Richard Commey for his IBF World title on December 14th at the MSG. What do you know about your opponent, firstly? Because we know him over here, pretty well as British boxing fans. But what do you know about your man over there?
Richard Commey, he's a tough fighter. He has all the experience, He's a decorated fighter, man. He's very, very talented. He's very strong. Everybody knows that. He's very powerful in the lightweight division. I am facing the toughest puncher in the 135 lightweight division, and I'm just excited about it all, because this is where I get to not only shut up the critics, but to prove to all the fans and to my fans that Teofimo is taking over, and I am the next best thing in boxing, and hopefully after this, we make the Loma fight happen, and it's going to be great.
And you mentioned there, he's a hard puncher. You're a hard puncher. I feel like you've probably got the better skills and the timing. But in terms of the odds over here, you're a slight favourite. Do you anticipate this fight being the toughest of your pro career thus far?
Every fight is tough, and I believe this one right here is the toughest to date. Yes, it is the toughest fight of my career to date, and obviously you can see it through records. Richard Commey is a well-trained fighter, and he's very strong. And I know that it's going to take a lot of training and a lot of things for us to beat him. But that's what we're doing now in camp.
Yeah, no, a very good fighter, Richard Commey. I think his 2 losses were real close. They could have gone either way. So, some people would say he's still undefeated, perhaps. But you mentioned there about Lomachenko. He's recently been branded a WBC Franchise champion. What's your take on this whole franchise scenario, Tio?
I think that the whole thing with the franchise WBC thing, I think it's a lot of BS, if you want to ask me. But, now Devin Haney's the WBC World Champion on record, But I still see Lomachenko as the WBC World Champion. He rightfully won the belt against Luke Campbell. And, when we do fight, I'm still going to say that I was and I am the unified world champion.
And you mentioned there about Devin Haney. I mean, he's been made now full WBC champion without actually having to fight for the belt itself. Some people are kind of looking at that scenario and they're saying, yeah, it's great, he's a world champion, but he was kind of robbed of that moment after a hard fight where you'd hear the words "and the new." You're going to get your chance to become "and the new." If you were ever awarded a title, though, without fighting for it, would you feel satisfied by that?
Absolutely not. But that's me. Every fighter, every person, every athlete has a different way of doing things. Me, I don't like anything being given to myself. I like to earn them, and that's how it's always been through the amateurs, throughout my whole life without boxing. I always have to earn things, and that's just the way I was brought up. And I congratulated Devin Haney on Twitter, and told him congratulations. And I'll see him soon. Eventually in the rankings and in the near future, we'll eventually meet up. But as of right now, my main focus is December 14th against Richard Commey.
Absolutely. And coming down to the last couple of questions, really, Tio, I want to see if you managed to watch the fight that happened on the weekend. Obviously, the weight above yourself, Pro Gray and Taylor. Did you happen to see it at all?
No, I didn't. But I heard it was a great fight. I heard that it was very competitive. But I heard that Taylor outboxed and he did what he had to do to become victorious and to win the Ali trophy along with the IBF and the WBA belts. And now we have 2 fighters in the 140 division that could possibly match up next year to fight for all 4 belts. I think it's great. I think it's good to hear those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And just finally, if you want to give it to us, you can. If not, then that's absolutely fine. Have you got any kind of prediction for your fight come December 14th? Obviously, you're both massive punchers. Does this fight go the distance? Does it end inside the distance? What can you tell us, Tio?
I don't see this fight going the distance for either one of us. So I believe that it definitely is one to watch. Somebody will go down, and the whole thing now is just for everybody to wait and watch December 14th. I definitely see a knockout. Commey is a tough fighter. I'm a tough fighter. When you got 2 tough fighters going in there, you should always expect a big night of boxing and lights out.
And we will expect that for sure.
Absolutely.
We will expect that for sure. And just finally, Tio, have you got any closing words just to your UK supporters over here that will be tuning in and, of course, backing you to become the new world champion?
For everybody in the UK, thank you so much for supporting. Thank you for everything you guys have done, and just keep supporting Teofimo because we are the future of the sport of boxing. And when we win the world title, my first world title, I can't wait to hopefully defend them in London. So I appreciate everybody, and thank you so much.
Okay, listen, Tio, it's always great speaking with you, my friend. Thank you for your time. Best of luck for December 14th, and God willing, next time we speak, I'll be speaking to the new IBF lightweight champion of the world.
I like the sound of that. You got it.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part. Ayaz, what you got?
Nigel Benn has forced to call off his controversial combat fight after sustaining a shoulder injury in training.
Yeah, perhaps the shoulder injury occurred. It's been alleged it happened, I think, a couple of days ago. It all happened seemingly very quick. I think he put out a statement the same day he injured it, which kind of made me think, well, if he injured it today, has he not gone and seen, has he already gone and seen a specialist and they've said, no, you definitely can't fight, and he's got the results of any scans or x-rays or whatever that quickly for him to then be able to put out a statement the same day? It all happened a bit quick. There's obviously a rumour that they weren't doing well with the tickets. I mean, I'm not surprised. Some of the prices I saw were just incredible. But yeah, I mean, we care about Nigel Benn. He's a legend of the sport. Perhaps it's a blessing in disguise, really. We saw just the other week how dangerous boxing can be. We got another harsh reminder, and a guy that's been retired for 23 years to come back is, it may have been a good fight. It would have been interesting to see what he looked like, but we're not going to get it, and I'm not too sad it's over, to be honest. I wouldn't be watching it on pay-per-view or going to see it, so I mean, yeah, whatever. All the best to Nigel Benn, obviously a legend of the sport. Is that the only piece of news?
Yep, that's the only bit of news.
Okay. Moving on to the preview part of the show. This one happens on Saturday at the Conlog Arena in Koblenz. One fight to mention over here. We've got Leon Bun, a German prospect, undefeated, 14-0. It's for the IBF International Light Heavyweight title. He takes on Enrico Colin. Colin is a guy that boxed Artur Beterbiev for the IBF World title, and Beterbiev got him out of there with about 10 seconds to go in the final 12th round. And to be honest, I felt like the referee should have let it carry on, because he got back up and there was only 10 seconds left in the round, so he almost didn't knock Colin out. So Colin goes down in my book as a real tough customer. So this is a big test here for Leon Bun. Enrico Colin, 26-3 his record. Moving out now to the Manchester Arena in Lancashire, United Kingdom. Obviously Josh Buatsi had to get pulled off the bill. That's a big blow actually to the bill, because I was looking forward to his fight. Is Martin Bakole fighting on this? I know that he was supposed to box on it, but obviously he fought the other week. Oh no, yeah, he is fighting on this. He takes on Rodney Hernandez, 13-8 with 2 draws. Hernandez only been stopped the once. It was against Efia Jagba, who we know is a very good fighter, the Nigerian former Olympian. He's a promising prospect right now, so he's the only man that stopped him. But other than that, Hernandez has been around the block a little bit. He took on Joey Dawejko. He's been in there with Zalil Zhang. He's been in there with Sergei Kuzmin, Adam Kalnacki, Michael Hunter, Razvan Kajanu. All these guys he's lost to, but he beat Scott Alexander as well. Actually, that's a good win. He got a draw as well with Joey Dawejko. They had 2 fights, a draw in the first fight and then a very close loss to Dawejko in the second fight, which actually was his last fight back in July. So not a bad opponent, to be honest, there. But I know he hasn't had much notice. Martin Bakole 14-1, Rodney Hernandez 13-8 with 2 draws. That's a 10-rounder. Kez Ashfaq 7-0 takes on Joe Ham 16-1. This is Ashfaq's first kind of real step up. It's for the vacant WBA Continental Super-Bantamweight title. Joe Ham, very good fighter. In his loss to Tyrone McCulloch, it was a bad performance from him. He had McCulloch down in that fight, people forget, but he did lose clearly. But other than that, he's not a bad fighter at all, to be honest. And he will provide a test to Ashfaq, who I feel, of all the 2012 Olympians, I think he was part of the 20. Was he 2012 or 2016? He was 2016. Of course he was. He's the guy that's just taken forever to get going. He's only had 7 fights. He's been a pro. He turned pro after 2016. I think he turned pro very late. He was going to be with Haymaker, then he wasn't. I don't know what happened. But anyway, very slow his progression. Should be interesting there, because he needs to kind of be a little bit rushed, if you like. He's only 26, but he needs to get going. Gamal Yafai 16-1. He takes on Lee Clayton 10-3 over 6 rounds. Also on the bill, we have Anthony Crolla, of course, in his farewell fight, 34-7 with 3 draws in search of win number 35. It's for the vacant WBA Continental Lightweight title. No idea why there's a belt on the line if he doesn't plan to continue boxing. He takes on Frank Urquiaga again. Bit critical I was of him the other week. 13-1 with 1 draw. In his last fight he drew with Ivan Thomas, and Ivan Thomas just got knocked out by Devis Boshiero, the guy with the most padded record in boxing. So no point in this fight. It's going to be a glorified sparring session, but all the best to Anthony Crolla. Also on the bill, and for me probably the most I was going to say attractive fight, but you're going to probably take it out of context. The most interesting fight, Terry Harper, 8-0. She takes on Vivian Obernauf. Now you know why I said attractive. 14-5 Vivian Obernauf. 10 2-minute rounds for the IBO World Female Super Featherweight title. That should be real interesting. We'll get to see how good Terry Harper really is. Christina Linard-Datu, who's now 12-1. She puts her WBO World Female Super Lightweight title on the line against Katie Taylor, who's of course making a move up to 140 here. Katie Taylor obviously favoured to win. I think this is the lady who apparently cried when she got off the plane. It's for her belt, like I say, 10 2-minute rounds. Katie Taylor expected to really walk through her. Also on the bill, another brilliant fight actually. I've seen this bill taking a lot of slack, not quite sure why. I feel like there's a few decent fights. Felix Cash, 11-0. He puts his Commonwealth title on the line against Jack Cullen, 17-1. Jack Cullen in his last fight, of course, beat John Harding Jr. and he looked really good. After that, Jack Cullen's his partner, I think, gave birth to his kid. So yeah, a little bit of added motivation before a big fight against Felix Cash. I quite like that fight. Jack Cullen, a good boxer. Could be interesting. Again, a step up there for Felix Cash, in my opinion. Moving out now to the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, USA. Miguel Berchelt tops the bill, 36-1. He puts his WBC World Super Featherweight title on the line against former world champion, friend of the show, Jason Sosa, 23-3 with 4 draws. I tell you what, don't count Sosa out of that fight. Sosa's a good fighter, very underrated. Also on that bill, we got Alex Salcedo, 28-1 against Rod Salka, 24-5 over 8 rounds. The IBF World Super Flyweight title gets contested for. The champion, Jerwin Ancajas, 31-1 with 2 draws, takes on Jonathan Rodriguez, 21-1. Moving out now to the MGM National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Couple fights to mention over here. Firstly, the return of Brian Castano, 15-0 with 1 draw. Of course, the draw came to Erislandy Lara. I'm not quite sure why they haven't boxed again, but he takes on Wow Omatoso, 28-4 over 10 rounds. Castano, brilliant fighter. I think he beat Errol Spence in the amateurs. He showed early on in his career, like I say, I think it was his 15th fight or 16th fight, that he could mix it with Erislandy Lara. I'm not quite sure what happened because he was world champion, but then he didn't lose his title in the ring, so I don't know what's going on there, but he's not a world champion anymore. Also on the bill, 2 of the Gary Russell brothers. Firstly, let's start with Gary Antoine Russell, 11-0. He's in a 10-rounder against Juan Huertas, who's 14-2 with 1 draw. Gary Antonio Russell, 15-0, takes on Samuel Gutierrez, 16-25 with 6 draws. They really need to step up, to be honest. They really do. Also on the bill, Javier Fortuna, good fight this, 34-2 with 1 draw. He takes on Jesus Cuellar, 29-3. I don't think I've seen him box since... Did he lose? Did he get stopped by Gervonta Davis, I think? That's a 10-rounder there anyway. And, of course, the big one, the final bill to mention. Let's start with the undercard at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Let's start with friend of the show, Blair Cobbs. He finally gets a big chance to shine here on the undercard. 12-0 Blair Cobbs with 1 draw. He's in a 10-rounder against Carlos Cervantes, who's 11-4. Making his debut, Evan Holyfield. Yes, it is the son of Evander. Evan Holyfield. He takes on 0-1 Nick Winstead. Be interesting to see what Evan Holyfield looks like, not just in terms of the way he boxes, but also a picture of him. I haven't seen what he looks like. Does he look like his father? Has he got that moustache? We want to see. Also on the bill, Ryan Garcia, 18-0. He gets the rematch. He gets the fight rescheduled with Romero Duno, a man that he was supposed to box a few weeks back, and he got accused of ducking him. Apparently, he didn't want to fight him. I can't remember what happened. There was a last-minute kind of disagreement, and Garcia didn't end up fighting. It's great to see the fight rescheduled. It's for the WBO, NABO lightweight title and the vacant WBC silver lightweight title. Romero Duno, 21-1. And topping the bill, Ayaz, I'm going to come to you first. Saul Canelo Alvarez, 52-1 with 2 draws. He fights for the WBO World Light Heavyweight title against the reigning champion Sergey Kovalev, 34-3 with 1 draw. Talk to me, Ayaz.
I think this is going to be a very, very good fight, right, between Kovalev and Saul Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, we know Canelo Alvarez is a free-weight world champion, obviously, and he's boxing technically biggest superstar. Well, obviously, we can see that Kovalev in his last fight when he fought Yard, you can see the decline he's had, obviously due to the age as well. But obviously, this is going to be a very tough fight, Canelo. If I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with Canelo to win via points. Obviously, I can see. I think it'll be a very, very tough fight for Canelo, but I think Canelo will just nick it, and I think it'll be a points win for Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, we've got weight classes in boxing, obviously, for a reason. You can't just go up the weights and continue to be super duper impressive. Canelo is obviously the smaller guy by quite a bit. We saw him move up to super middleweight only for that one fight against Rocky Fielding where Rocky Fielding didn't really throw a punch. So it's hard to read into how good Canelo is at super middleweight, let alone light heavyweight against a guy that can punch like Sergey Kovalev. So there is a load of intrigue in this fight. Having said that, I feel like Anthony Yarde did perhaps expose a little bit of frailty in Kovalev, or was that Anthony Yarde just showing us all how good he's been? He's been a real good kept secret of how good he really is. It's a toss up. I mean, I'm going to start with the listeners, their pick first. Firstly, they've gone with Canelo by KO 41%. They had Canelo on points 38%. So they're really heavily favouring Canelo. Kovalev 12% by KO and 9% on points. So it's close, but they definitely favour Canelo. So do you, as you're going with points. I don't know, because obviously we know, and we've said it for a long time, Kovalev does not like those body shots. We've seen it before. We've seen it a few times before. Andre Ward kind of showed it to us in the second fight. He was digging in those body shots, and he couldn't deal with it, to be honest, Kovalev. Saul Canelo Alvarez, one of the best body punchers I feel in boxing, not to mention he's got a brilliant chin. Yes, he hasn't been hit by Kovalev, he's been hit by Triple G though, and he seems to walk through that. I think Kovalev's probably a bigger puncher than Triple G. Some people would argue that, by the way, even though he's the bigger man by 15 pounds. But it's a tough one. I think I do have to favour Canelo. I think I do have to favour Canelo. This is a brilliant leap, though. This is such a legacy fight for him. If he goes and does this and even if he doesn't get the stoppage, even if he just wins on points, if he does this is such a legacy win, To think what he's done, he is an incredible fighter, and rightly, he's right up there on the pound-for-pound list. But yeah, if I have to really go with it, I mean, Andre Ward was the smaller man against Kovalev, but Canelo's even smaller than him. It's a tough one. For me, though, I think I'm going to go with Canelo to win. I think he's going to win on points. I mean, listen, I can see a body shot finish. I can see Canelo knocking him out. If he knocks him out, it's going to be with a body shot. But I just think Kovalev, this is going to be the smallest guy he's boxed, possibly since being professional. But he's probably the most skillful guy as well. Him and Andre Ward is a toss up there. But yeah, you know, has Canelo got the skills to kind of throw away the size difference? Has he got the skills to still be able to compete with Sergey Kovalev? Yeah, I think so. That's why I think he wins on points. He certainly can outwork him, but it will be interesting. If he gets nailed right on the chin, will he be able to take that? He took Golovkin's. Will he be able to take the big right hand from Kovalev? It's yet to be seen. It's a brilliant fight. We've been spoiled a little bit in recent weeks, actually, for big fights. But yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to go with Canelo points, Ayaz, so I'm going with you on that one. That is everything, though, for the preview part of the show. Just before we wrap up everything, the final thing, of course, is to... In fact, there's two little predictions I should mention. This one actually came in from Luigi Pelosi. He says... No way Kovalev beats Canelo. This is probably not that popular an opinion, but Canelo is easily top 3 pound for pound and on his way to becoming an all-time great. I tell you what, if that is an unpopular opinion, then I don't know, because for me, I agree with every single word you've said there, Luigi. This one, of course, comes in from Ben Molyneux. Good guy, Ben Molyneux. He's been a recipient of a BoxHard Podcast T-shirt, and he wears it. He wears it around. He wears it to the weigh-ins. He's got a lovely selfie with Johnny Nelson wearing the BoxHard top. Shout out to Ben Molyneux. Big shout out. He says Canelo by 7th round KO. Kovalev has a lovely jab and is the bigger, taller man, but once he feels a punch to the guts, he'll be in survival mode. Ooh. He goes with a Canelo KO. So yes, part of the gang of people that voted for the KO. So Ben Molyneux happy with the listeners' final poll prediction. But that is everything, though, for the preview part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 2 and finally end the show, the last thing, of course, is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated interim WBA Super-Bantamweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Brandon Figueroa. Brandon, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me once again.
Hey, it's my pleasure, my friend. So we last spoke back in April. It was just after the Parejo win. Of course, since then, you've had the one fight against Javier Chacon back in August. You stopped him in 4 rounds. I mean, quicker than the likes of Isaac Dogbay, big puncher. Also the likes of Jamie McDonnell, British fighter from over here. Talk us through the fight. Another real impressive win for you once again, Brandon.
Yes, sir. I know he underestimated me from the beginning. I looked like a little boy, but once I get in that ring, I turn into a different type of fighter and a different type of, as I like to say, human. And I like to get in my zone. And once I connected him with the left hook, I know he felt my power, and that's when he was, backing up, trying to hide in his little shell. But, once I saw that he wasn't throwing anything, once I saw that he wasn't trying to fight me, that's when I decided to go in there and rough him up, and I did, and I ended up knocking him out.
Like I say, another fantastic performance from yourself. Now, I know that your older brother, to some degree, is a bit of a mentor of yours, someone to look up to. However, of course, he just suffered his first loss at the hands of your Dennis Ugas. What did you make of that fight there? And even though he lost the fight, it wasn't you who lost it. Is there anything that you can perhaps learn from his loss?
Oh, yes, sir. Of course, the mistakes he did during training camp, the way he handles himself as a boxer outside of the ring. I definitely learned a lot seeing, living with him throughout his career. But definitely, I know this loss taught him a lesson, and it taught me a lesson for sure, of course. And, it motivated me more than anything. I told him, hey, brother, that's your fault. Pick up your slack. Stop messing around and get back to work. That's the advice I told him after his loss. And, because in my family, there's no such thing as pity, we're hard on each other, and, that's the way we were raised. So, we told him, hey, pick it up where you left off, and, keep fighting, keep going forward, and don't give up.
And obviously, he's a good friend of this show. How is he doing? Is he in good spirits at the minute?
Yes, of course. Right now he's taking care of his personal life, building a house in Mexico, and, just taking time off, remodeling his house, doing stuff like that, spending time with his kids. So, he's in good spirits. I know he decided to fight next year, but right now I know he's taking care of his personal life, business, outside of boxing. So, I know when he's ready, he's gonna be ready.
And of course, your next fight has now been announced. It takes place on November 23rd on the undercard of Wilder vs. Ortiz, the rematch in Las Vegas. You'll box Julio Ceja. What do you know about your opponent? This is a tough fight.
Yes, sir, of course. You know, this guy is Mexican. He comes to fight. He comes to brawl. You know, you saw the fight against Guillermo Rigondao. He was winning the rounds that, you know, before he got knocked out. You know, so he's a strong fighter. He's a really well-conditioned fighter. I know it's gonna make me into a better fighter as well. I know I'm gonna go into the fight 110%. I'm ready, and you know, it's probably one of the biggest tests of my career. You know, every fight is a step up, and you know, I have to prove myself not only to the fans, but more to myself. I have to prove to myself that I belong in that world-class level and belong fighting these great warriors and these great fighters like Julio Ceja. So, you know, definitely I can't wait. I can't wait to prove to the world, and not only that, but prove most likely to myself.
And you're right there, you know, Ceja in his last fight, obviously, you know, he got stopped by Rigondeaux, but he was winning the fight on all three judges' scorecards. And quite frankly, Rigondeaux never, you know, he's never really been in a position, aside from the Lomachenko loss, where he's been losing in a fight, you know. So this guy is obviously a big step up for yourself, and also a real big puncher. 28 KOs from 32 wins, so this one should be a brilliant fight. His nickname, if I'm not mistaken, is Polito, which I believe translates. Does it translate to the little chicken? Now, I'm not Mexican, but why would anyone, especially in boxing, want to be called a little chicken, Brandon? Can you tell me?
Mostly in Mexico, you know, they give that nickname Pollo, you know, which is just like pollo, like chicken. It's just like it's a nickname, and maybe I don't know, maybe because they've been calling him since he was small, he probably got the name Pollito, which kind of means little chicken. So it's probably a nickname that his family gave him when he was small or something. Because you know, I grew up in a Mexican household and Mexican family where, you know, they give you weird nicknames that you're like, what? But, you know, definitely, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a nickname that he got from when he was small or something.
Absolutely. And obviously, you know, you're expecting to win this fight, and then that would mean by the end of 2019, you'd have had a real successful and impressive 12-month spree. Do you anticipate 2020 being an even bigger year for yourself, though? Because this year's been brilliant.
Oh, yes, of course. I think 2020 is going to be, you know, catapult me to that world-class level. If this fight doesn't do so, I believe 2020 is going to be, I don't know, it's gonna a lot of changes are going to happen. You know, just winning this fight is going to catapult me to, you know, world champion. And, you know, I can only just imagine what the plans for me for 2020 are. And, you know, I can't wait. I know it's a big undercard under pay-per-view. You know, actually, when Pacquiao fought Thurman there at the MGM Grand, I told myself, damn, I wonder when I'm going to fight here, you know? And you look, you know, just 2 more fights down in my career, and I'm fighting their pay-per-view under a big card like Wilder, and it's just amazing, you know, how God blesses you in many ways. So I'm really grateful and I'm really appreciative, not only to God, but for my team and all Heyman and PBC, you know, everyone that made this possible for me.
And again, you talk about being catapulted into that kind of championship level. Obviously, the champions right now, you've got Daniel Roman, who holds 2 belts. You've got Emmanuel Navarrete, who just looks huge for the weight. And obviously, Ray Vargas, a guy that's held the belts. I believe he's the longest reigning champion at the weight. Which of those 3 guys, Brandon, do you look at and think, hey, I want to fight you. I want to fight you soon?
All of them, you know, if everything comes out good this fight, everything, you know, for next year comes out good. My management, which is all him, man, it decides, hey, I'm ready, because I'm ready. I believe this fight, you know, I got a lot to prove, and I'm going to prove it. And, you know, after this fight, I'm ready for any task, any fighter. And, you know, I'm confident in myself. I believe in my skills, and, you know, I'm ready. I'm ready to start taking those titles away and, you know, elevate me to, you know, 3-time world champion or conquer the whole division, you know, if that's what God wants me to do. So, yes, sir, I'm ready and I can't wait.
And just coming down to the last couple things now here, Brandon. I'm asking this question to everyone right now. Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz Jr. The rematch takes place December 7th in Saudi Arabia. Repeat or revenge? How do you see it?
I feel like it's gonna be a really, really good fight. I think Ruiz if he's not gonna knock him down in the early rounds, he would definitely finish him in the later rounds.
So definitely a Ruiz win for you. So repeat.
Yes, sir. Repeat.
Okay, and just finally, Brandon, if you've got a last message just to our listeners that support you over here that are pulling for you to get the job done on November 23rd, what's your message to your supporters from this side of the pond?
Message, is just to don't doubt me. I know I'm a young kid, 22 years old. All the other champion fighters in my ranks are either 28 or 27. But don't underestimate me. I know a bunch of my opponents underestimate me until they feel my power and until they feel my punch. But I work hard, and I can't wait to represent all my fans and represent my country, represent just anyone that believes in me and believes in a young kid like me that works hard. So I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm very excited to come forward to this fight. I'm working really, really hard. I know Julio Ceja ain't an easy task. And an easy fighter. None of my fights have been easy, but this is what boxing is, and I can't wait to go out there and give it my all.
Absolutely. Listen, Brandon, it is always great speaking with you, sir. Best of luck for November 23rd in Las Vegas, and we shall catch up, I'm sure, sometime after.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 211 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's show. Of course, the undefeated IBF #1 ranked lightweight in the world, Teofimo Lopez, and the undefeated interim WBA Super-Bantamweight World Champion, Brandon Figueroa. From the predictions last week, we each gained 3 points. We all backed Lee Selby to beat Ricky Burns on points. We all backed Chisora to knock out David Price. I picked Stevenson on points, and you both wrongly picked Stevenson by KO, and you, the listeners, and I has also backed Taylor to win on points. Yeah, I backed Prograis to get the knockout. So we all gained 3 points. The scores pretty much stay the same in terms of the gap. Another point, of course, is up for grabs this weekend with the Canelo-Kovalev fight, so best of luck with that. There is one piece of news to mention, and that is that the former unified bantamweight world champion Ryan Burnett has been forced to retire from boxing. I'm not sure why, because I don't really know the guy, but it hit me really hard finding that out, to think, how promising he was, how quick he won a world title, how quick he unified. Obviously, his only loss came to Nonito Donaire in a fight where a freak injury occurred. He literally lost due to that injury. I think he was winning the fight. He did come back after that. He had one more fight in which he won by KO, but, he just injured himself again from what I've heard in training and stuff like that, and decided to retire. So I'm gutted for him. I hope he made enough money, to at least have something to show from what he put into boxing. He obviously put his body through hell. I think he got a house. I'm not sure if he paid it off or not. I really hope he did, because he seems like a real nice guy, Ryan Burnett. And it's just such a sad story. I spoke to Nonito Donaire the other day just briefly, and I told him, I informed him of the news, and he said, that is shocking. I can't believe it. So yeah, all the best to Ryan Burnett in his retirement. I would love to get him on the show. Hopefully we can get that done at some point. But yeah, he retires with a record of 20-1. He can certainly be proud of what he achieved in such a quick career. He was excellent, Ryan Burnett. I'm absolutely gutted for him. But that is about everything. If you've listened to this podcast this far, if you're still listening to me right now, then I just want to thank everyone so much for doing so. We are really appreciative of the views that we get, and to prove that, the first person to DM me on Twitter at BoxHard Podcast will get a BoxHard Podcast t-shirt in whichever size they want. But that is everything. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.